Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a chilly but beautiful day here in, what do they call these mountains? I don't know, off of Skyline in Silicon Valley. Beautiful driving roads up here in the north, and it's getting fun to split my time. This is the 2018 Mercedes-Benz AMG E63S Wagon. It's a mouthful, but this is the journalist special, right? It's a 600 horsepower wagon. It is the currently, I think, the world's fastest production wagon. And so this thing is badass. First off, I want to thank Sonic Auto, my partner in some of these videos, as well as Autobahn Motors, San Francisco, right near SFO Airport. They're an AMG dealer, and they stock these wagons. I've never heard of a dealer stocking wagons, AMG wagons, but this dealer does, and that is badass. But, you know, full disclosure, they hooked up the car, and they also sponsored a couple of Instagram posts, but they also hooked up the BMW before, and it's not a brand loyalty thing. Anyway, moving on, the things to know. This starts at $100,000. As tested, it is $122,000, and that is because, in addition to all the glorious standard features like the engine and the all-wheel drive and all the good suspension and all that stuff, this one has the heated, cooled, and lumbar adjustable sport bucket seats. And ooh, Mercedes is ace with their seat game. These seats are so comfortable, and they hug me really good. It also has this pinstriped Zoot Suit dashboard, which is actually dope, and you can feel the hand-painted, the texture of the hand-painted pinstriping on it. Additionally, Burmeister stereo, which sounds lovely. So the facts: 603 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque from a twin-turbo 4-liter V8. That is the V8 shared mainly with the AMG GT. They went on from that, from the old 5.5-liter. It's 4,669 pounds. It's all-wheel drive. And those are the basic things. The rest of it we will sort on the road. So we're going to go into my we're going to go Sport Plus on this one, but we're going to go on the setting number 1 on the shop and not setting number 2. Let's have a go. All right, where to start? How about the engine? For this year, well, it's actually for last year, but for this year, they've gone from the old 5.5-liter twin turbo with the turbos tucked up alongside the motor as part of the exhaust manifolds to the new 4-liter motor, which is smaller. And in the S version, it runs 22 pounds of boost with the turbos in the V of the V8. That helps them. It keeps them hot, keeps them spooled up faster, and they reverse flow the heads. So the exhaust goes out the middle, and the intake goes in the sides. It's the opposite of how most traditional engines are. It is extraordinarily fast. Mercedes says 0 to 60 in 3.4 with launch control, and there is no reason to not believe that. This is a very, very, very fast car. And the engine is snappy and punchy, and I think it's happier to rev than the old motor. It's a glorious engine. If there is a downside, it's that maybe it's actually a little quieter than the old engine. The old engine was a little barkier. This one, I mean, I haven't heard it outside the car. I've only heard it inside the car, and it's very, very refined in here. Now, the gearbox, it's the AMG, it's the speed shift, right? So it's a wet clutch pack instead of a torque converter. So in some ways, it behaves like a dual clutch. In other ways, it behaves like an automatic. It's smooth in traffic. The problem with Mercedes gearboxes is what happens when you bang the rev limiter. So let's find out. And there's 5, 6. Am I out of room? Oh, it upshifts. Okay, so even in manual mode, Whereas before, in manual mode, it would bang the rev limiter and then bog the car. They've solved that now by just having the car upshift when you hit the rev limiter, which, truth be told, given all the options, is probably the better move. There are 9 gears. Now, when you're like, you know, having a nice little blast like I'm doing now, you're mainly going to be using 3rd, 4th, and 5th, okay? Which is shifted up a bit from some of the other semi-automated gearboxes, but nevertheless, you still have some close ratios in the middle to work with. When you're in automatic on the road, it feels like it shifts a lot, but the shifts are very smooth. The only time I go, well, 9 gears is maybe too much, is if I'm cruising along on the highway and wanting to just rip off a couple downshifts on my own, you know, as I exit an exit ramp or something like that, and then it's like 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd. It's like, wow, that's a lot of downshifts. So that's where you really notice it. But when you're just having a go, you're still using 3rd, 4th, and 5th most of the time, and so you don't have that overshifting thing while you're playing. But you can get it if you're just trying to engine brake from automatic mode or slow down for an exit ramp or something like that. Anyway, 4,700 pounds is not particularly light. However, we've got a panoramic glass roof. I'll open it if you can see. Panoramic glass roof and a wagon body style, which does come with more weight to it, and it's all-wheel drive. So when you consider the BMW M6 Grand Coupe I drove recently at 4,400 pounds, the addition of the moonroof and the all-wheel drive system alone could easily add more than that. So the basic E-Class structure is lighter than the M6, whereas as tested, you know, it's heavier. Doesn't make it less fast. As these AMGs have been developed, the handling has gotten better and better and better and better. This one has Pilot Sport 4S tires, which I've been driving in very mixed conditions. There was, like, you can probably see the roads are a little messy right now. There was a big storm yesterday, and the roads were a mess. Look at the courteousness of this driver. Give me a little love there. Thank you, sir. Or ma'am in your Forester. I can't be sexist there. The grip is nice. Steering is variable weight depending on your mode. Very light in the city. Brought up in terms of weight the quicker you get going. It's not a, how did I end up back in drive? It's not a paradigm of steering feel, but the grip is high, and we are talking about a luxury car here. The steering is very direct. Pedal feels are good. 15.5-inch 6-piston Brembos in the front, steel, not ceramic. 14-inch rears, and pretty effective. Pretty effective. The all-wheel drive system, many of us have complained about because it exists, and AMGs were always the muscle car, burnout, drift machines. A couple of good things. I got to drive this car on wet roads, and it will get out of the hole really, really nice on a wet road right now. If you want to scoot away from a traffic light or something and it's damp, this will put that 600 horsepower to very, very good use, and it has a very flat torque curve to work with as well. And if you did want to go drifting, Mercedes does offer there's a little series of buttons you can press through the menu, and you can make it rear drive. You can. It's not as easy as a one button on off, but if you have an occasion for which rear wheel drive serves the need, you can do it. You can. These brakes are doing really well. It's got a muscle car sound to it. It's not as rough and aggressive as before, but the car's very, very quick. These roads are a little damp still. They don't get slick like they do in SoCal when it rains, but it is a little damp, so not going quite as quickly as I maybe could be going. But let's talk chassis and suspension. The The overall structure of the vehicle is very, very rigid, feels very strong and sure of itself. In the past, I have been critical of AMG and M cars for being overly stiff. Now, the good news is, I don't know if they listen to me, but they listen to somebody, and they have softened these cars right down. The comfort mode is truly comfortable. And I drove this thing into San Francisco yesterday to do a podcast with the guys from Bring a Trailer, and although their roads are a horror show there, this did pretty good. Could definitely serve daily driver duty. It's not too stiff. And then right now I'm in Sport 1. Sport 2 is very stiff. I think Sport 2 is too stiff for most things. Let's try Sport 2. Here's Sport 2. Let's see if it's... I really am feeling... Okay, the box dots you can feel. This road is probably smooth enough. Sport 2 is okay. I will say there's a certain... The suspension is electronically controlled, obviously, but in comfort mode, I can feel it like it's almost like a magic hand. Like, you know how a really good shock is just boop, boop, you know? That's a really good shock. This feels like it's almost got a hand, like on its own it would go boing, 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 but it feels like some kind of magic hand is restraining it and keeping it to that one down, one up thing. It's weird to get used to at first. It feels like it's an active thing that is doing a task, not just a shock and a spring working together. It's very tricky to describe that sensation, but it's like an active body control reduction. It's very interesting, but the end result is that the car does ride well. I'm extremely pleased with how the car rides. I really like the driving position a lot. What a spectacular machine this is. I mean, really, really, really spectacular machine. AMG has come such a long way in their chassis dynamics and the shift times. And I mean, I can't imagine like a 2004 E55 mobbing this road. I mean, it would be sloppy. It would be a handful. This is taut. T-A-U-T. Shift lights in the gauge cluster, love that. I haven't talked much about the technology. There is a lot of it. The interfaces are pretty slick. They take a minute to get used to. You can't just hop in and go. These new interfaces with these huge screens, they're a little complicated to figure out, but once you do, everything is pretty intuitive, actually. The nav is pretty good. It did a decent job yesterday rerouting me around traffic, even in the land of Waze. Oh, this is a car. Wow. Oh, brakes. There they go. Oh, this thing is glorious. So the four-wheel drive system can do 100% of the power to the back, even without disconnecting the front, and it can also do 50% of the power to the front. So if you really needed it to pull you out of that corner, and by the way, it does this on its own. You don't have control over it. Wow, what a car! Got some popping and cracking back there. Standard exhaust. I should mention that the 40 horsepower and 75 pounds of torque you get by going from the regular E63 to the S is only boost. That's 3 pounds of boost. All the internals, everything else is identical. You used to get a different differential and stuff like that. Now all the hardware in both versions of the car is the same, and the only difference is the tune. Wow, that is a fast car, but it masks it, like the BMW M5 and M6. It masks it. The Ford GT I just drove, granted, look, we're comparing wagons and homologation Le Mans cars here. A sports car really wants you to revel in every sensation, and not that this isn't a sensational experience, but This car has another purpose beyond that, which is covering immense distances at an immense speed while in comfort. And man, if I was going to drive across country right now, there's not a lot of cars that would do a better job at covering a vast distance at a high speed than this. This is up there. I should also add that I can fit behind myself. I did that. Didn't have to move the seat at all, and I wouldn't want to go on that cross-country drive back there, but if another tall friend of mine had one of these and wanted to take me to dinner, no problem. I could get in the back. Really getting into the brakes there. This thing is predictable. It's really, really fun. I have to say, the all-wheel drive system takes away nothing from this car. The dynamics are spectacular. It's fun, it's comfortable, it's extremely fast and loud. When I picked up Hannah from work and she first saw it, she got in and just went, "This is a nice car." And she doesn't do that lightly. She did not do that with the M6. She just got in, sat down, looked around and said, "This is a nice car." And she's right. Sitting in this seat, looking around at the detail work, the screens, the bright work, this is a nice car. And, you know, to be honest, for 120 grand, it better be a nice car. But the good news is, it really lives up to it. I wish I could give you the list of things that I would not opt for and how to save money on an E63S wagon, but color aside, if I was going to buy one of these, I'd buy it just like this. Woo! That, my friends, is a fine motor car. Wow. It's fast, it's comfortable, it's extremely spacious, it's good looking, sounds good, goes fast, has a presence, and if I may say so, it's a good value. I mean, $122,000 is a lot of money, but considering you get Corvette Z06 acceleration, you get, you know, proper sports car handling, seating for 5, a trunk, and a sound like that, yeah. I don't know what's not to like. This car fucking rocks. And if you happen to be in San Francisco and you want one like right now, don't order it. Autobahn Motors has them on the lot. You can just go down there and go, that one, and you could probably drive it home that day. So shout out to Autobahn Motors and Sonic Auto for helping me out. Sonic owns like 120 stores across the country, so click the link in the description, and if you're looking to buy a new car, maybe Sonic's got something that you're looking for, and thank them for supporting the people who make your favorite car show. I'm going back to LA. I'll see you later. Bye.